Natalie, I've been hammering on Sachs and Jensen because they've been at the lead of kind of this. It doesn't matter who wins in AI, and aren't we being greedy? Aren't we being terrible as Americans because we want to hoard these chips? I think the comment was we want to hoard these chips ourselves. You've done, and you're going to hang through the break. You've done some more investigative reporting. Kind of your wheelhouse has always been looking at the Chinese Communist Party and the subversion of our technology companies, the government process, all of it. You've got some amazing pieces up on Substack. What do you got for us?
Well, yeah, we definitely got to go through all the details on that one because it's just maddening. But I think the point that I would make broadly, people like Jensen Huang, people like all of these sort of, China simps, people like David Sachs, is that this I've never liked the idea of I can save it for after the break.
Hang on. I want to see anybody that gives me a CCP simp is going to. You hang on for a second. As the caissons go rolling along, it's going to take us out. Okay, welcome back, Natalie Winters. Simp for CCP. Continue on, ma'am. You've got plenty of runway here.
Well, I'm going to make that sentence even more interesting. I don't know if simp has ever been used in the same context as the Thucydides trap, but we're going to go there. But, they treat it, right, like it's, as you would say, a law of physics that you have, a rising power and then you have the United States. There's going to be some form of conflict. And they always sort of use that paradigm to explain how China is going to eventually overtake the United States. But I've never liked that because there's sort of this passive, agency and autonomyless view of what the United States can do to prevent that conflict. And people like David Sachs, people like Jensen Huang, that sort of ilk, not even the outright pro-China collaborating faction, but the sort of euphemistic wishy-washy crowd, those are the people who make that trajectory, the replacement of the United States, not in a unipolar world order, but us being replaced effectively by the Chinese Communist Party, not just a nightmare, but they make it reality. And I think some of the words we've heard from President Trump talking about Chinese students, most recently with Laura Ingraham, are quite concerning. I would argue that we need to be at a Manhattan Project level of not just decoupling from the Chinese Communist Party, but understanding the hybrid, unrestricted warfare that we're at with them, and how it is American useful idiots who are getting very wealthy off of collaborating with China, and it's our tax dollars that are propping up the same apparatus and ecosystems that are now being weaponized against us. Case in point, everything to do, with the rare earths. I would just add, making America great again is not about turning Jensen Huang into, a kleptocratic trillionaire or David Sachs into a kleptocratic, decamillionaire. But the rare earth one, I think, is a really interesting example, sort of what you were talking about with, us, the taxpayers, not seeing any upside to where our money is going to every corner of the earth. But in this case, it's actually funding our demise. I uncovered several studies and research into rare earths being done essentially at China's top lab, their kind of state key laboratory for what they call rare earth materials and chemistry. It was founded by China's sort of grandfather of all their rare earth tech. It's this laboratory that has allowed them to really consolidate, monopolize, and ultimately weaponize so much of the global rare earth supply, but also the refinement capabilities of it. It's super granular research. If I read you the titles of the papers, my eyes would bug out, and I'm sure yours would too. So you can read it on there. They're showing the article on the screen. But the Department of Energy, the National Science Foundation, and even the Office of Naval Research and the Naval Research Laboratory have been sending our tax dollars to research that is being concurrently conducted between American researchers and their counterparts at this Chinese Communist Party-run laboratory that is really a central node in their efforts to shore up these resources. And in reading through some of these papers, I actually found active, Energy Department money going to studies that are listed as part of the 100 Talents program, which not only have we seen several indictments and espionage cases come from that, but on face value, even the most euphemistic description of it by the Chinese Communist Party, it's to steal high-value technology from the West, particularly from the United States. And I just think this story is such a wonderful yet just ominous and scary metaphor for what we have subsidized our own demise, right? Like the Chinese Communist Party says, it's strangling us with our own systems. And I don't want to hear a peep from the Faucis of the world, the broader, equally compromised, right, scientific community that preaches the collaborationists. They're the collaborators, and I use that in the sense that all they want to do is collaborate with the Chinese Communist Party, while collaborating with a regime that wants to not just steal your IP, but steal your IP to replace you doesn't go over quite well.
What? Give me this again. They're funding what? The very studies that are down. Walk me through the studies. How does this fit in?
So China's key state laboratory for rare earth materials and chemistry. This is the group that, like I said, is their foremost tip of the spear sort of organ that is conducting the actual research. So on several research papers, nearly a dozen, listed in their funding. So this is research that is potentially, in some cases definitely, but some cases it's a gray area, being done in China, certainly conducted by researchers from this lab, and it's tax dollars from the Navy, the Department of Energy, and the National Science Foundation going and supporting this work.
Hold it, full stop. You're telling me that branches of the U.S. government are funding research at a CCP center on rare earths done by CCP researchers. Our tax dollars are funding that.
Yes, sir. And I almost got deja vu to the COVID times. But yes, exactly. That's exactly what's happening.